A lot of you have seen my stump boxes. This Hayes Rutherford from, I believe he's in Idaho. I belong to a turning group called WOW, World of Wood Turners. And he made these little boxes and posted a picture of it. And I said, wow, that's pretty neat. It's not a real stump of wood. I'll pass these around, you can look. There's no pith in these. This is a square block of wood to start with. So I saw that, I made one. So wow, that's pretty cool, except in Pennsylvania we have roots on our trees. So then I put roots on them. And that's what we're going to show you today. So, pass one each side, or round or something or other. Wow. So you can make these out of just about anything you want. I made one out of walnut, and it was a little harder to show the burning on, and we'll get to that a little bit later. Here it is. Centers are not important. Get relatively close to the center. We're not going to cross-check or anything. It actually, when you go carving this after we're done, you'll find out if it's perfectly centered, it's going to look like it's a little square on the bottom. So I just put a thing there. If you look, it's wobbling a little bit. It doesn't matter. This is going to be our root side. It's going to be our top. I'm going to round the top, but roughly. This is one of those projects that you don't have to be a really good turner on. So it's getting too many. Always spin your work before you turn the lathe on. Make sure everything's tight. Turn the speed down. Turn the lathe on, bring it up to speed. If this is going to come off the lathe, it's going to go right to Joe. It's going to come right to me if I'm standing here. So, as much as I can, I try not to stand behind the piece. All I'm going to do is try and get pretty close to the round, or I'm going to make the split for the box. Notice the difference in the size. Speed is one of those things that you get used to as you turn. If you're turning real slow, when I started, I wasn't real slow. I didn't even look, probably 1200, 15. You're getting a rougher cut, you're getting boop, 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 boop. You turn the speed up and you're getting a nice smoother cut. There is a point where a speed is too fast. Here we're between centers, which is very safe. So we're held there. We're pretty close to imbalance. If you get the speed to the point where the lathe is starting to vibrate, back off. If you get to the speed where you think it's too fast, back off. Everybody has a different comfort level. Jimmy Clues was in here a couple of years ago. Jimmy's known for turning as fast as the lathe will go. He is very experienced. For him, that is a very safe speed. For me, I turn finials as fast as the lathe will go because they're this big, and if they break, they're just going to, I'm not going to hurt anything. I'm not going to turn this at 3,000 RPM because that's like Dave's baseball that can't handle. So, okay, we're still a little bit square here. I'm going to cut down a little more. I'm at 2300 right now. Now, I'm not even trying to make a good job on this, because the rougher this is here, the better it's going to look when we carve it at the end. So once I get that down like that, we're going to put a tenon on each end. This is basic box making. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on boxes because okay, let's talk about tenons. I happen to know that if I make the tenon about the size of my chuck or my tailstock for this chuck, it's going to fit. So I don't have to measure it. Before you get to that point, you're going to want to measure the inside jaws on your chuck. And when I pull this out, I'll show you a little bit better. You measure the inside jaws on the chuck when your chuck is open a little bit, like maybe that much. If you can see, yeah. When chucks are made, they're machined round and then cut with a saw. So a perfect circle is not all the way closed. You also want to leave yourself a little room in case you have to tighten up. So at any rate, for those of you that are newer at this, and I forgot to check it ahead, when I pull this out, I'll show you how I measure that. So I roughed out a tenon there. I'm going to rough one out on this end. Now on this end I can see my chuck jaws, so I know how big to measure. Now this chuck has dovetail jaws. They're a little bit tapered. Not all chucks are like that. This is a one-way chuck with the smooth jaws. One way with the serrated jaws, I believe, are straight. I could be wrong on that, but I don't know about the other chucks. You'll know your own chuck. Nova chucks are tapered. I have ground a bidan. You can use a scraper or anything at an angle. Yeah, you can see that angle in there. That's the right angle for my chucks. Makes it easy. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to make my dovetail in here and make my dovetail, and it's nice and clean. If you don't feel like doing that, you can use a parting tool. You go in, approximate the angle of your chuck this way, come in this way, clean up that little bit in the corner. There's a lot of ways of making that tenon. The important thing is you have to have that tenon strong enough so this won't come off the lathe. With the dovetail jaws, I feel comfortable with a quarter or so on a turning this size. If I was using the one-way serrated jaws, I would probably make it bigger because you might only get 2 or 3 of those serrations. So again, you have to know your tools. I'm going to use this since I hit the T here. Like I said, I drive this to right angle. I'm going straight in, and it gives me my angle and my back there. I have to flip it over on this side. I'm using this like a scraper, so I'm running slightly downhill. You'll see when we work on the inside, anytime you use it.
Can you raise your microphone up about 2 inches?
Sure.
Thank you.
That face shield messing me up, huh?
Is that better?
Can you hear that now better?
Yeah.
Okay, box making. We've got a top, we've got a bottom. In making a box, we're going to make a, we're going to take a parting tool here. We're going to take a parting tool, we're going to go in as far as we want for our, that lip. And then we're going to part through. And of course, I didn't bring a saw, so I'll have to part through all the way. So we're going to figure out where our top is going to be. Doesn't much matter. Actually, I guess it does matter. On those boxes that are going around, if that box is much deeper than that, see where my fingers in there? If I put 2 fingers in there to grab my M&Ms, if it's much deeper than that, I can't get my M&Ms out. So that's how I determine that. Yes.
Dave, what are you throwing a bark to keep it so nice? Excuse me, keep it so nice. I think it's amazing the bark's not flaking off.
That's not bark.
It's not.
No.
Just wait, just wait.
Stick with me for half an hour here. This won't be as long a demonstration. That's why we went ahead and did everything else first. So my fingers are in there at some point. Now I would normally call that good. I'm not worried too much about my I'm not worried too much about how the grain's going to line up on this, other than the fact I want it to line up pretty much when we're done because of expansion and contraction with the humidity. If I was trying to grain match this as a plain box, I would use as small a joint in here as I could. I'm not too worried about that. That's why I doubled the size of the cut. Now when I'm leaving the piece on the bottom, I'm leaving the raised part. On a box, you have one part that fits in another. And it's your choice if you want this, like you'll see on that one that came around, my little raised inner part is on the bottom. Some people want that on the top. It doesn't matter. It matters here because you leave the extra part sitting there. I also, when I started to part this off, and you're not going to see that in the video, but I left just a little bit of the ring on the upper part so I know how big to make that recess.
Hey Dave?
Yes,
What do you call that tool?
that's a parting tool. It's just a smaller one, thinner.
Okay.
I have, that's an 1/8 inch. I don't know what they call this one. And I don't think I brought my knife with me, but I have like an Outback style knife for really thin partings. I'm going to leave it a little bit. Now this, I'm doing a little bit more than a parting tool width, going back and forth. I know you can't see it in the video. So I'm going in about 1/4 of an inch, and then I go to the other side of the cut. If I would have gone straight in without widening that cut, it's going to bind right away and you'll see all kinds of smoke and whatnot. So I'm going to pass that around. You can see that I left a little ring on there so I know how to make the, I'm sorry. second stage. Oh, let me have that back. I can't pass that around yet.
Sneak peek.
Now, I told you about the setting up for the tenon. My jaws are open a little bit. I think you can see that on the, there you can see that right there. They're open a little bit. So this is, that measurement right there, that is as small as you can be with your tenon. That still leaves you room to compress it. In case you have a little bit wet wood compresses as you're going, you have to keep checking it. So anything bigger than that is good. You can mark that on the piece of wood, however you're comfortable with. After you're experienced, you can actually touch the edge of the caliper there to make a mark and measure and compare it against the other one. You can go off the center, take half of that, put a pencil mark on it and check it when you're gaining less experience. Okay, that was a little digression there. This is the piece I just parted off. I keep losing my tools. And I almost got too small on that. So we know, and Pat, can you zoom in a little bit on that? Oh, yeah, it's not a remote zoom.
No.
Sorry, I thought you could. Okay. You can see by the color there, you can't really see this line show up. Well, you can see it back here. You can see the lighter line there. That's that little bit of a raised area that I left on there. That's where my recess is going to be, so that it fits over this lip. I'm going to go in there with a parting tool about the depth of that, so it fits on there clean. I want to be cutting on center. Now I've got a little bit inside of where I want to be, so I can clean that up. So in other words, I left a little bit of that lip. Still on center. Making a little bit of a dome here. So I can get a couple extra M&Ms in there. That's a pretty nice cut right there. I have a negative rake scraper at this point. I made a pretty nice cut there. I could hit that with sandpaper, but that is unusual for me. So I have a negative rake scraper. It's round, I know it's hard to see here. There, you can see it there. It's round both directions. This is actually a bowl scraper shape. I'm just going to clean that up. had a nicer cut on there with the cutter. Any kind of a square corner scraper will polish this little thing off right here. I have a tool ground just for that. You don't have to do that. You could have done that with the parting tool. Just because I like to show off all my toys doesn't mean you have to go buy them. Okay, that's a pretty good fit. And I still need to come in a little more, which is good. If I was a little bit loose, I could taper that so it would be a tight fit. I'm not worried about a suction fit, one of those fits that pops, because I don't want to have to take two hands to get my M&Ms out. I just want to pick it up and grab it. So I'm going to go in a little deeper. Again, I could use my parting tool or I can use this scraper. I'm getting really nice shavings with this scraper. This is important to get this here. A lot of this on this demo or on this box, it doesn't matter. You know, the outside I did it rough because I'm going to carve over it. Anytime you're making a box, this fit right here is important. See, I'm using a scraper. I'm going downhill a little bit. I can't always talk and work at the same time. Using a scraper, you always want a little bit of a downhill slope on it. If you're scraping like this, it's going to catch and go like that. When it's downhill, you're going to get these nice shavings off, and you know it's just going to do a nicer job.
Dave, is this wet wood or dry wood?
Dry wood. If you did this out of wet wood, you'd have to be really, really careful about maintaining your grain mass. And even at that, I did one out of wood that wasn't kiln dried, but it was had been sitting around for years and years, and the top got really sloppy on it, and it's sitting on the shelf at home because you know I just didn't bother to finish it. Okay, at this point, you've got a nice little dome in there. It's round anyway. But here's where you can do any decorations you want to do. I don't know if I did decorations on them or not. But just, I think I did this here.
Hey, what wood do you recommend? Any kind of wood?
Doesn't matter. I've got one out of walnut. I've done them out of cherry, of maple, ash. Doesn't much matter. I think the light woods, they're easier to finish. I don't want to do a lot of sanding, but I won't bother doing the bottom sanding. I'll do this top because I want to show you how I finish the inside. Dave Behringer's sandpaper trick. I've got 180 up to 800 stapled together. So I'm not looking all over for, Dave may have gotten it from somebody else. That's who I learned it from. When he first showed me that trick, I thought, well, you know, what happens if one piece of sandpaper gets dull and the rest doesn't? It's not that expensive. You can throw the whole pack out. That's 400. The touch was 600. And then when I get down fine, I like to reverse the lathe and go another direction. Okay, I sanded it to 800, it's really nice and smooth. This is a wax, Versa wax, whatever you use on the inside of your, or on your spindle turnings, or any of your turnings for a finish. You can do anything. I like this because it smells nice.
You wax your M&Ms?
Yeah, that's right. Another little trick, roll paper towels cut in half. Because I only use pieces this size, so I only have to rip them once. And by putting the wax on there, I'm running pretty fast. That's done. Keep pushing my tools
Hey
on.
Dave,
Now you can turn.
Hey, Dave.
That's all right. Yes.
pass these things over here. We haven't seen any of the stuff so far.
Okay, guys. Don't
Always-
ignore this front row here. Maybe they're still coming up.
There's room too. What happened?
Yeah, wake up there.
Okay, so this piece is
Sold them all.
the same position as that. I've got the top finished on here. Don't be shy about tightening these up. I had 5 students here Wednesday, and we were doing a simple bowl. And I was trying to keep track of all 5, and the girls were a pleasure to work with. And guys being guys, they saw what to do, and he turned it around and didn't get it tight enough. I suppose I'm not much different than that. Okay. Hollowing out the inside of a box. Not a lot different than doing a bowl. A lot of people start with a drill to find their bottom. I didn't bring a drill with me, so we're not going to do it. I'm going to try and do this with as few tools as possible. This is end grain. This is end grain work. So to get your nice finish, you're going to want to come from the inside out. What I mean by that, by the end grain work, the grain of the wood is going this way. So in order to cut your fibers, if you're sharpening this pencil, you sharpen it like this. So on the inside, we're going to cut like this. If you try and cut like this, you can sharpen that pencil that way, but it's going to try and dig in, which is going to tear up fibers. If this was side grain, you'd work the opposite direction. If you're doing a bowl, side grain bowl, you go from the outside in. We'll have a little more on that when we have some bowl turning classes here. I'm cutting on center. I think you can see how nice that's cutting there. I can cut this way, just along, it's cutting against the grain. It's getting dust. It doesn't make as nice a cut. But if it's more comfortable for you doing that, by all means do it. Incidentally, so far, everything I've done with the bowl gouge, if you have the carbide tools, you can do it with carbide tools. You can do this whole project so far with your easy wood tool. I also have this is a John Jordan type, this one. Let's see, there. It's got a little cutter into the end. And actually, the John Jordan tool I have is the 3/4 tool, and I had the cutter. I went to Home Depot and bought a piece of 1/2-inch round stock and drilled a hole in the end and made my own. So John didn't get his $100 and some off me on that one. Anyway, the hollowing tool worked well for this. And that's showing up. So, I'm not going to spend the time here to do all this hollowing because I have another one done to that step. You've got the idea. Oh, if you don't, one other thing, scrapers. I mean, that's basically a scraper there. It's a hollowing tool. Scrapers work for this. I guess what I'm trying to show you is there's more than one way to skin a cat. You're actually going to finish up with a scraper, but you can see that works. If you're a beginning wood turner, you can go out and spend tons and tons of money on tools. If you're going to do bowls or hollow things or whatever, a bowl scraper is a great tool to have. I don't know what they cost, 40, 50 bucks, I don't know, a gouge is almost an essential tool to have. You notice I didn't use a spindle roughing gouge on this. I could have. It's an extra tool. If you do a lot of spindle work, that's worth having. Anytime you buy a set of tools, it's going to come with a spindle roughing gouge, a spindle gouge, a parting tool with this, that, or the other thing. You can get started with a parting tool, a scraper, and a gouge. And you can do most of the projects we do. You want to get into some specialized stuff or make it easier, that's certainly a possibility. Rubber. No, I didn't. Okay. We had that at that point, and we hollowed it out. That's where I am here. That's hollowed. That's where this. You notice I wasn't being careful. When you look at that, it's rough. You don't have to be careful until you get down to your final cuts. If you want to practice and make every cut smooth, that's fine. I was doing it fast. When you get down to the depth you want on the bottom and the diameter you want out here, that's when you start making your nice, smooth, finished cuts. So at that point, that's where I was. I put the, and then I finished the inside the same as I did the lid. I waxed it, whatever your finish is going to be. held that to show you. How are we doing on time? And,
11:03.
I'll tell you what, let me take that tenant off then. Can I have that box back? Because this is something that somebody should see. How about the top floor? Is that still going on?
No, the one he's working on now.
No, it's right there.
Okay, yeah.
Looking for it or not?
This is the one I started on. Now it's pretty tight. I lined my grain up. So I turned it around, put the lid in. It's close enough. Most of you know how to, or a lot of you know how to do this, but we're going to take this tenon off. Come on, bowl gouge. For those of you that are newer here, I've demoed here before, I'm always just disorganized. That doesn't worry me. A lot of these guys know me. So here's how we're taking our tenon off. We're on a jam, what they call a jam chuck. That was a jam fit. That's my top that I chucked in the, ran into the chuck. Forced that on there. Now I'm going to make my cuts in this way until I get to my final little pretty cut. Because I'm pushing against that waste or that jam material there. If I go this way, we're in the tailstock, but it's wanting to twist it and turn it. Anytime you're working on a jam chuck for your heavy cuts, you want to be going straight in. I took too big a cut there. And here's where I violate my rule about being in front of there. I want to look down there and be pretty much straight across, and then I'm going to dish in a little bit on the bottom so that only the corners hit. If I dish too much, then you'll see air under these where there are no roots. It's a sparking tool. I'm using my cutting tool as a scraper. Does it scare anybody that those square edges coming out there? Okay. At this point, if you just wanted a box, you could run this down to the bottom, smooth this up, finish it, turn around, take the top off. You've got a nice little box. We're going to go one step further. Do you have any power for me?
How long is your cord?
That's going to be tight. That's going to be tight. Okay, well, Pat's looking for power, sorry, I didn't think of it further.
Yeah.
There's cords hanging off the table there.
An extension cord?
What?
Gray one?
No, this one?
The gray one. Gray one.
That one there.
Something?
I like that one.
This is a scary little tool. This is a chainsaw chain on a little disc. And it travels pretty quickly.
And it what, pretty quick?
Travel.
It travels.
Yeah.
Lickety spickety.
So if you, I don't remember the figures from September's meeting when Jim Finley was here talking about Jim was here talking about chainsaws, but it impressed me that, you know, they can do a lot of damage in a hurry. So this is how we make the bark, and this is how we carve the roots. Get this out of my way. I've got this held between centers for a reason. I've got 2 free hands for this. If I keep 2 hands on this, I can't have 1 hand out here. So that's my safety, yes.
Dave, I just found out that Arbor Freight sells that chainsaw for a 4-inch grinder.
Yeah,
And you can put on your 4-inch grinding wheel.
they do. I've got one of them. That's scarier than this. Your mini grinders, I don't know the RPMs on this. The mini grinders are a lot faster.
Is that a Merlin or what?
This is a Merlin. This is 13,000 RPMs. The mini grinders are a lot faster than that. So,
I'll stand over here, thanks.
at any rate, we're going to leave it on the lathe to do this. We're also going to want to turn downhill. Same thing I was talking about with the turning the inside, how you pay attention to grain direction. We're going to, if we turn or if we carve up this way, it's going to just throw pieces out. Now I already got rid of my tenon on there, but I'm not going to turn the lathe on. So it doesn't matter if I'm off by a little bit, that it's held safe. I also, when I'm doing this at the home shop, I have a little screw-in thing there. I'm just going to stick that in there for now. That keeps me relative, you know, when you screw that little thing in there, it actually holds it really tight. I'm doing all this just so I don't hurt myself.
What about the
Why don't you
spindle
use a
lock?
stop?
Pardon?
Use a stop on the lathe.
Spindle lock on this one, you have to have somebody hold it.
Oh, okay.
And it only locks in 2 positions. This will lock every, I think there's 12 or 16 positions that one. Okay, now at this point, this is, you know, kind of carving. You just do however you want it to look. I know I want a root sticking out here. Next time you're walking in the yard or walking in the woods or whatever, take a look at the roots of the tree, see what they look like. Again, the rougher you get on this, the better. The one thing you have to look out for is once you get a little bit done like that, pull it apart and see how much room you have. At the right angle. See how much room you have, because you don't want to get into that. So, what I like to do, since I want to keep the, even though this is end grain and it should move pretty much the same, I like to make a scar on the tree. So I'll make a flat right here. had my grain lined up before I did that. So now anytime I take that box apart, put it together, I line it up on there. If the wood does swell or shrink, it should do pretty much the same way, so you can still put the lid on and off. Also, when we're done, I'm going to hit this with a little bit of sandpaper so it's not a friction fit anymore. So, the carving on this could take an hour. You know, it looked like it went pretty close, but you go around it, you go around it again, you go around until you get it exactly like you want it. This box here, I'm carved and sanded, and I'm not happy with it. So I'm going to take and carve that to make a, I'll pass that around. You're going to see that it looks square on the bottom. I don't want it square, I want it to look like a tree. So that one's not done, that's it in stage in progress. I'm going to plug in a wood burner now. Joe was all excited about doing one of these, and he was asking me about wood burners and this and that. I do some wood burning. I've taught some wood burning classes, so Sally's interested in it too. We have two. We have a razor tip, which is a really fine detail burner. They make all kinds of feather and fish scale patterns for it. This is a really heavy duty burner for more like branding. Molly Winton uses this in her stuff. Next fall we're going to have Graham Priddle here. He does heavier branding. It's a heavier duty thing where he actually melts wood with it. So actually, I guess if you're just wanting to try this project for 20 or 30 bucks, you can go to Michael's or Woodcraft or somewhere and just get one of those little pencil soldering iron type branding tools. All we're looking for is to make this look like bark. And when I did the carving went straight across the joint. And these burn lines are going straight across the joint. Now I'm going to do the deep ones kind of more careful, I guess you'd say. And I've got this turned up pretty high. The tip's red. So I'm going to do a lot of the deep lines. And then when I get all the way around this thing, doing these deep lines, I'm going to come back maybe another direction, and I'm going to catch some stuff like this. And then I'm going to change, and I'll go all the way around like that, not filling it in. Just doing a little bit all the way around, and then a little bit of the next step all the way around, maybe go the other direction. And then maybe we'll, catch it from the bottom. If you need a break, sit down in an easy chair. We don't have to be on the lathe at this point.
Have you tried doing that with a propane torch?
I haven't, another guy did. I told you I saw this on the Wild site. Dave Rutherford did the first ones. So a guy, and then I did mine, and I posted them on the site. Hayes gave me an okay to go ahead and do it, take his idea. So recently another guy said, hey, you guys on your stump boxes, I want to make a stump box, but I don't have that little Merlin grinder. How do I do that? said, well, I wrote him back, if I didn't have a Merlin grinder and I had a Dremel, I can do that on a Dremel. It's slower, but I can use that Dremel instead of that little grinder. If I've got hand carving tools, V-tools or whatever, again, it's slower, but you can sit in your easy chair, throw a sheet on the floor and watch TV and be doing that. Well, I guess you better be watching what you're doing if you got a church. The question was, can you use a propane torch on it? This gentleman did use a propane torch, and he posted it and did a real nice job on the box and everything. And his joint was just a black line around there. So even though you're nice and tight here, when you hit that with a propane torch, that's a raw edge, and it's gonna show this line. My goal is to make that joint disappear.
Right.
So, you know, I do a pretty good job. You can pick them out, you know, if you look for them. But I had 3 of these in the Instant Gallery in Lancaster, and I walked in and somebody was looking at it, and they go, "Oh, that's nice, but you know, it's just a piece of wood, you know." And I said, "No, it's a box," and I picked it up like that. They didn't know. No, they weren't holding it. They were looking at it on a table. If they had picked it up and gone like this, they'd have seen the joint. There's no way you're going to hide it. But at any rate, you know, without going into the boring part, that's pretty much it.
And Dad, what's the strategy you use for the top where you've got like a saw curve, like you cut the tree off and then...
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's not it. That's the last step that I getting ahead of myself here. I knew I invited you for some reason, Steve. Okay, we're gonna make this look like a chainsaw cut it off. So I'm in there about 9/16. That isn't critical, it's just that I don't want to cut through that part. So 9/16. I want to add at least a quarter, maybe put a little, so let's call it 5/8, 7/8. Let's say we're going to be up here at 1 inch. You can always make another cut if it doesn't work. So let's get my chainsaw out. You can use any kind of saw for this. Fine blade would be better because we're trying to simulate chainsaw marks. If we had a really coarse blade, we'd have really coarse cuts. Let's see, my first cut on my chainsaw is a little bit uneven. Somehow I knew I was ending up too fast on that. Now when I'm cutting the tree down, I know I'm going in like, a third of the way at least. Now the reason I made 2 cuts on there is I had a lot of material out here. On that box that I just did for the demo and passed around, there's not going to be very much material. So I'd only have to make 1 cut because I have to snap this off. So when I'm out in the woods, that was my first chainsaw cut.
This is your wedge?
Pardon?
This is your wedge here? that you're using?
This is my, yeah, hinge. And then my second cut, and again, if you're uneven on this, it probably does a nicer job. Because I don't know anybody that makes a perfect chainsaw cut. Let's see if it'll snap without Thank you.
That looks like a nice.
No. Said I had a lot bigger, lot more extra on the top here than I have on the other one. So you get by with one cut on that one. This is part of what Dave was talking about earlier about I'm an idiot because I don't have dust protection on.
Oh,
That saw, maybe, that's.
oh, just back and forth.
Like a saw.
Okay. Can adjust it for either one.
So once we're close in,
Actually, it's an X okay, so you just play with that a little bit till you get where you want to. Anytime you cut a tree down, you always get that little bit of a sticking up there because, you know, you cut through here, you put your wedge in, and then you're cutting through and the tree starts to go before you get all the way through. Hopefully it goes that way and not this way. So when you look at the other ones, you know, it takes a little bit of time carving on them and chopping a little bit. At this point, I wouldn't do any more with the hacksaw. I'd take carving chisels and work it, and then at the end, just pick at it and make it look like sticks coming up.
You basically went torn fibers there, correct?
Right. Yeah, it's just, you know, when that tree comes apart, it just
pulls fibers out every which way. So. Now I think we're done. Any questions? Griff?
Yeah, I noticed